All right. So, good morning, everyone. Good evening, everyone, wherever you are. So, let's get started with our Python day one session. Before we move on to this lessons, first of all, we need to understand why Python, right? So, before I start even that, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Suraj Himire, and I have around 15 years of experience. It's been a long time working in the industry. So if you ask me, I'm basically a Java hardcore guy. I do a lot of programming. I'm basically a data engineer by, I would say, profession. Again, I've been teaching a lot of people. I have taught a lot of people in the field of data engineering. And today we have another new programming language added to our bucket. We call it Python. Okay. Now, a lot of people have already understood that uh, they want to make a career in data, right? So we need to be very very clear. If you want to become something, in data field, then you have three options. So in the field of data you have three options. One is your data analyst. Okay, the second one is your data scientist, and the third one is your data engineering. Okay, so if you want to make your career in the field of data, you have three choice. You have data analyst, I call it DA. You have data scientist, I'll call it DS, and you have data engineers. Okay, I call it data DE, data engineers. Now, in all these three, if you ask me what is the common thing that you will see in all these three spaces, then there are a couple of things that are very very common. One of them is Python. And can you tell me something else which is also common here? One is Python for sure. Another one is SQL. Okay, these two things is something that all of you should learn if you want to claim yourself as a data specialist. Okay, so now there are few things which are very much close to data engineers. For example, if you want to become a the like a top-notch data engineer, then you should know something like Java and Scala is also beneficial. Okay, Java and Scala are two programming languages that are very very beneficial in the field of data engineering. Okay, however, if you say I want to become a data engineer, not a very hardcore, I don't want to, probably I might not work on some product based companies, or I might not write some scalable solution, but I still want to become a data engineer. And I should be a little flexible. I want to learn a data analysis first, and I would like to become a data analyst first. And maybe my interest is more about data science, machine learning, AI and all. Then for these two, I would say you should choose Python. Okay, only if you are 200% sure that you want to become a data engineer, you can choose Java or Scala. Or if you say I want to become data analyst or data scientist, then you can go ahead with Python and SQL. So these two things are something that you should learn in order to get into a data roles. Okay, now for many people, becoming a data engineer is difficult in the day one. They want to become somebody, they want to become something in data, but then they are afraid of hardcore programming right away. They are like, it's there in their plan, but they are like, hey, for the first 1 2 years, let me explore data analysis, or let me learn this data science concept, and eventually over the period of time, if something excites me, I'll get into the data engineering field. So if you are that person, then I would say start with Python and SQL. Okay, now here one thing we need to understand is this Python and SQL are common languages across software development, right? Especially this SQL, you cannot run away from SQL. Okay, likewise, if you say I want to start, I am not so great in programming, but I want to eventually start. My end goal is to become something in data. What should I learn? These two things is something that you should not miss. You start with Python and then you start with your SQL. Okay, now once you are done with these two, you are good to go ahead with your career. Of course, there are some other things that you should also learn, but these two are the very basic fundamentals. Okay, now whenever you plan to learn Python or SQL, the biggest problem that you face is most of the platform or most of the tutorials what you see in the internet, they last only for a few hours. For example, any course you take which is like a data scientist course, okay, that cost you a lakh of rupees. If you see, the Python module is included only for 10 hours, 10 to 15 hours maximum. Okay, and in this 10 to 15 hours, let me be very honest, you will learn all those things that are already there in tutorials point. How many of you agree with this point? A lot of courses out there in the market that claims to make you a data scientist teaches Python only for 10 to 15 hours. And in this 10 to 15 hours, whatever you learn are very basics that's already present in the website that's already present in the internet. Okay, which means in order to become a data scientist, first you need to be very good at Python. Otherwise, you will not be able to write a lot of code. You may be able to understand the code because you have made a habit of seeing the Python code repeatedly. But when you want to develop the code, when you want to write the code, it might be very difficult because the basics were only limited to 10 to 15 hours. And this is why we thought, okay, let us start a course on Python that would cover end-to-end Python. Okay, so our intention is to help you learn Python end to end. That should go for a minimum 40 to 50 hours. I cannot promise you how many hours it will go into exactly in the day one, because if you know me well, if you are my student, or if you have seen any of my videos, usually we do not rush to complete the course. I would not mind if we go more 20 hours and we make it 60 to 70 hours of content. Possibly, it is possible. Okay, so we'll learn Python in a great way, and it should help you to crack any interview if it comes to Python programming. Okay, now there's a question from Avneet. He says, will we get the job guarantee in it, sir? One thing I can guarantee you here is, once you are done with this Python course, you should be able to crack every interview on Python, every interview. Okay, now whatever we will teach you, you will become pro in that. That guarantee I'll give you. Okay, yes, what we do not cover, there is no guarantee on that part, right? But whatever we are going to teach you will make you so strong that you will be able to clear any interview on Python programming. Okay, now content of course and orientation towards DE. Yes, so I'll probably show you the course content tomorrow. Okay, because I'm yet to draft a very high level course content. What all are you going to learn? So give me a time, 1 or 2 days, and I'll give you the whole syllabus of what all are we going to cover in this whole full-fledged Python programming. But at a very high level, I can tell you that we will learn Python for sure. We'll learn NumPy. We'll learn pandas. Okay. We'll also learn the basics of machine learning. Okay. So we'll learn these 4 topics, and I'll give you the breakup in 1 or 2 days. Okay. Now, when I say yeah, so there's a question: will OOPS be covered? If OOPS is a part of Python, then why not? As I said, I'll teach you A to Z of Python. Okay, so A to Z means the concept of classes, the concept of OOPS, the concept of threading, the concepts of exception handling. All these things would be covered in our course. Okay, now let us move ahead with today's session. And another question: will we also cover DSA as part of this program? We will cover some basics of sorting algorithms, searching algorithms, and so on. Okay, we have a dedicated DSA course as well. And in this DSA, sometimes we pick up Java, sometimes we pick up Python, sometimes we pick up Scala. So we will cover the basics of sorting and searching algorithm, and we'll also have a lot of problem solving, questions for you. Okay, which means I'll solve couple of questions, and slowly we should also be in a position to solve some of the lead code problem that is also in our agenda. By the end of the course, if you are putting your interest, if you are putting your efforts, you should be in a position to solve at least the easy level lead code questions using Python programming language. Again, this DSA is not inclined to any programming language. If you are good in Java, go ahead and solve some DSA problems. If you're good in Scala, go ahead and solve some DSA problems. Or if you're good in Python, go ahead and solve some lead code problems. Okay, now let us move forward. I'll talk about the whole course content probably in 1 or 2 days. I am just preparing the course content as well. I'll forward you all what will we cover in this 40 to 50 hours of program of Python programming. Okay, so we'll talk about that in the future class. So let's move on with our today's session. Shall we move ahead, guys? Everybody give me quick yes and we'll move ahead. Okay, so we have also promised you guys to give you access to the data engineering fundamental program. I'll get back to you on this shortly. Don't worry, it's there. Okay, whatever I promise, I'll basically give you that. Okay, so let's talk about the agenda here. So we'll talk about Python now. Okay, so I have prepared a documentation here. This documentation you'll get access to through our website. We'll also create a course in our website. All this document would be put in the website itself so that it will be easy for you to understand whatever we cover. Okay, so our entire course would be present in our website onlinelearningcenter.in, and will help you with the access as well. Okay, so before we move on, let us also talk about the concept of data science, because as I said, the fundamental of Python, this course covers the complete Python along with the fundamental of data science. Okay, so for the people who are very new to data science, we should also understand what is this data science, right? So how many of you are have no clue about data science? Just say me. It's absolutely fine, because you might have heard about data science from people over the internet, but you actually don't know what exactly it is. Okay, so let us first talk about this fundamental of data science. What is this data science? Okay, now see, a lot of us have been telling like data is a new oil, right? Which means data is the new currency today, which means there are a lot of companies who has a lot of data, but there was a time people had no clue what to do with this data. Can we make some money out of the data? People had no clue. Okay, and the data was stored in we don't know whatever format. Okay, the data was present in various different locations. Okay, the data were present in various different locations. The data were present in various different format, and we had a requirement where we can get this data and we can make some meaningful insights out of it. Okay, so data science is basically a technique or a field wherein we can exactly extract some meaningful insights from data which is structured or probably on structured data. Okay, now what do you mean by structured data? Structured data are like CSV file, wherein you have the data in structure. You have username, you have the YouTube video ID, you have how many hours he has watched the video ID and all, and we want to figure out which user has spent what time in watching the videos, right? So unstructured data means the data which would have no format. For example, say there is a JSON, and the JSON is like, sometimes the JSONs are nested, like there are JSON inside JSON and all, and those kind of data are unstructured data. So when we start with the course, I'll also use chat gpt so that I can help you to understand what all it means. So without worrying about what will happen, let's say a structured versus unstructured data. Structured versus unstructured format. Just let's write it down. Okay, when we have amazing tool like ChatGPT, why not use it even, right? So if you look into this definition, it says the structured data are basically formatted data. For example, if you see this data, this is formatted data, right? You have ID, you have name, you have age, and this is your formatted data, and we call it a structured data. For example, if you go to any bank and if you say, give me my bank statement, okay, give me my bank statement. So if you ask a bank to give you a statement, they give you the statement in one format. Again, when somebody else goes, some other customer goes and checks for the statement, he gets his bank statement. If you see this, this statement comes in the same format, right? The your data versus your brother's data versus any other customer's data are also stored in the similar format. So those kind of data are actually a structured data. Whereas if I talk about unstructured data, they are like some sort of CSV file. So let me get some CSV file. Let me get some XML. Okay, show me nested XML unstructured data of student. Let's see this example. Now, if you look into this data are called as unstructured data. Why? Why? Because if you see, this is student data. I got one student data here, and I have another student data here, and something might be present here which is not present here, and there are few details which might be present here, few data might not be present here. For example, if you see, I have address column here, address details here, but I do not have address details here. So sorry, in case of your unstructured data, there's no guarantee everybody will have all the informations. You might have a lot of information for a particular user, you might not have like a lot of informations for some particular users. For example, if you see this here, there is address of the first course the student details, and there is no address for the second student, and this structure can vary. For third, it may have again different fields, different set of fields. So these are called as your unstructured data. Are we clear, guys, on structured and unstructured? Are we clear on structured and unstructured? So if you see structured data, just a minute, I think it's not so smooth. If you talk about structured data, you will see data in format, okay, in some format. And if you see unstructured data, okay, data does not have format, no format. Okay, and what is the example? Sorry, what is the example? So if you see, some data can be represented in a tabular format. That means every field values are present, even if it is null, but the values are present. So they are called as your structured data. Okay, and if you see some sort of XML where there are few records for few person, there are few records for there few records are absent for few persons, right? So they are called as your unstructured data. Okay, now let's move to the next. So now what is the meaning of data science? Data science means study the data, and the data could be structured or unstructured, and get some meaningful insight from that data. Okay, now as I told you, different domain in data. If you say I want to become somebody in the field of data, then you have three options. One is you can become a data analyst, you can become a data scientist, or you can become a data engineer. So these are the three fields that you can actually target. Okay, so I have got one, I have got two, I have got three. Okay, now let me quickly give me a minute. Okay, so let me quickly ask you, what do you want to become? Data engineer, data analyst, or data scientist? So let me give you options here. Just a minute, don't type. So you can just like DE if you want to become a data, just don't type. Just like DE if you want to become a data engineer. Just like this DA if you want to become a data analyst. Just like data scientist, DS if you want to become a data scientist. So just like my comment, don't write it because it will get lost. So what you want to become, just like that. If you want to become a data engineer, if you want to become a data scientist, if you want to become a data analyst, just like the appropriate comment. Okay. Anyways, it's up to you. Okay. Tomorrow, whatever you want to become, what I want to tell you is we have a very amazing course on data engineering. I think we have the best course in the data engineering. Data analyst, you can eventually become a data analyst when you take our data engineering course, because data analyst is very easy to become. It's very easy to become data analyst if you already is a data engineer. Okay, data science, the our data science program would start in this season. Once we are done with the Python, the next thing that we will do is we'll slowly do a data science course as well. That means OLC will be a one-stop solution for you to become data engineer or data analyst or data science in 2026. Okay, which means if you are asking me, I want to become a data engineer, I want to become something in data engineer, then there is only one place where you can become all of these three, and that would be OLC. Okay, what about the D class? We'll talk about that in some other time. Okay, now let us talk about application of data science. So let me ask you a question. Okay, if you study, let's say if you study a particular field, let's say if you study civil engineering, then you have a scope of the work, right? That means you can work probably on building the roads, you can work on construction of houses, you can work on construction of big buildings. These are the scopes which you have, right? The great thing about software developers are we are no more restricted to a domain. We're no more restricted to a domain. We can work on varieties of domains. Okay, that's the benefit of becoming a software developer. You can work in a railway sector, you can work in like automobile sector, you can work in banking, you can work in finance, and so on. Okay, now let us talk about some of the application of data science. Okay, number one is you can apply this data science in businesses. You can apply the data science in healthcare. You can apply data science in finance. You can work on data science in retail as well as in your social media. Okay, now I want all of you to just read this point once. And can you figure it out? What does this mean? Just read this out and can you figure it out? What does it mean? Okay, now let us talk about this part. We were here, we were talking about this business, healthcare, finance, retail, social media, right? Let us talk about what are these information, okay? So you can apply this data science in business to predict the customer behavior. Customer behavior prediction means looking into your behavior, we can understand whether you will buy the product or you will not buy the product. Okay, for example, suppose say there was a user A who browsed XYZ product and ended up buying Z. Okay, again there was another customer who also saw A, B, C product and ended up buying C product. Now using the past data of the customers, the previous customers, I can predict if a customer is browsing for product A, product B and product C, most likely he will buy product C, most likely. Okay, so you can actually understand the behavior of a customer. And how is it going to help us? It's going to help us to understand in what condition the customer will buy the product. For example, let us say you wanted to buy a phone. Okay, so what we did is we displayed you a phone of 40,000 rupees. Then most likely you will not buy it. But what we will do is we'll show you a phone of 1 lakh rupees. We'll show you a phone of 10,000 rupees and we will place you another phone of 40,000 rupees. Then will you buy that 40,000 rupees phone? Probably yes. Why? Because first I have shown you, hey, this is an expensive phone, 1 lakh rupees, and you're, oh, it's out of my budget. Then I'll show you a phone of 5,000 rupees and you say too cheap. And then I'll show you a phone of 40,000 rupees and you would be like, okay, this makes little sense, and you may end up buying the product, right? And many people are using that strategy. Have you ever noticed a lot of courses are like, they will say it's a 20,000 rupees course, but it is a like Black Friday, Black Wednesday discount or whatever discount, and now you get it at only 1,000 rupees. Have you ever seen courses like that? There is a course of 10,000 rupees, and now they would say this course, because of this Black Friday, the course is discounted at 999, which means how many percent off? Probably 90% off, 95% off. Okay, now it actually means this course was actually worth 999 only. For example, all of us are aware of Udemy, right? Have you ever noticed Udemy always runs on a discounted price most of the time? You can buy almost any courses at 500 rupees to 700 rupees. Most of the courses. Of course, there might be some courses which are like 3,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, and so on. But most of the time, you'll see the courses are like marked at 9999, and you are getting this course at just 999. And this discount runs 12 months a year. Okay, which means this is how they understand. If I show a customer that the course is of this much and you are getting a heavy discount, then most likely the customer would buy it. Okay, so that is the meaning of your customer behavior prediction. Fraud detection, a lot of thing happens in this fraud. A lot of thing happens in today's world, because of which there are a lot of fraud that happens altogether. For example, I'll give you my example, my pain point. Okay, currently I'm outside of India, and there is my friend who actually is present in one place of Bihar. And whenever I have to buy some product, I basically ask the product to be delivered in that place. Okay, and I use Amazon to buy products. So what happened recently was, all my products, I said I would do a cash on delivery. You give me the product, I'll pay you on spot, and there is somebody who will pay money if they receive the product. Now, during the very popular puja of Bihar Chhat recently, that time I had ordered a lot of products, and all these products were on cash on delivery. But what happened was, maybe the people were not available to deliver, and Amazon does not allow the delivery guys to keep the product for more than 2 3 days. They have to take the call very immediately. So once the products was out for delivery and there was nobody to deliver, this people, what they did was, they said the customer did not receive the product. But on the other hand, the real story was, I never got the product. Nobody came to my door. Nobody came to that address to deliver the product. Nobody even called us, even one time. And because there were people were not available, and they cannot keep this product for 4 days. They cannot say, okay, we have shut for 2 days. We will deliver this product after 3 days. That's not the policy of Amazon. Because of which, my all my products were returned back. All my products were returned back to the seller again. Okay, now Amazon, they thought maybe I am a guy who actually tries to buy the product by saying cash on delivery, and this guy is not receiving the product at all. So what happened, Amazon has disabled COD in my account now. Okay, why? Because it felt probably he's a fraud, maybe just ordering and creating a havoc, right? So creating a panic within us. We are putting our effort, money in the like logistic, in the transportation, and at the end of the day, there's nobody to receive the product. Now, if I have to remove this COD, I have to buy the product again using prepaid, right? So if you see, for my case, it could be a genuine problem. Okay, but a lot of people does this thing a lot, many times. Many people, they take the product, they use it, and then they take the benefit of what do you call 7 day return policy, right? For example, tomorrow if I have my friend's wedding, I can get some items from Amazon, try it out, go out and attend the party, and just say the product was default and ask for a refund. Many people have done that also, right? So the business actually learns all these patterns, okay, and this pattern will help them to create some rules which will minimize the risk of fraud. Now, again, if you talk about any banking sector, there would be a lot of fraud that happens every day. Okay, so see, today, the good thing about today's era is you have Chat GPT as well, right? So you can always say, you can always ask a question like, how I would say data science can help in fraud detection in banking sector. Today, as a student, all that you need is the key point. Rest all is there in your hand. And over the period of time, I'll promise you that I'll show you how you can effectively use this AI tools to learn more about it. Okay. Now let us see this. Let us see what it says. Okay, pattern detection from historical data. Bank analyzes past transaction data to learn what is normal behavior looks like. For example, usual spending amount, typical transaction time, common location and device. Any deviation from learned pattern raises a red flag. Very interesting. Which means Suppose I use credit card. Let's say I'm using credit card since last 10 years. And let us say most of the time my purchase volume is like 10,000. I've never done a transaction more than 10,000. Okay. Now all of a sudden I'm trying to do a transaction of 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so that means that is a deviation from my usual pattern. So in this case there would be a trigger that would be raised. Okay, and you'll immediately get a call from a bank asking to verify if you have done this transaction or not. The moment you say yes, your transaction will be through. The moment you say you don't respond, your transaction would not take place. Have you ever faced this kind of, did you get this kind of experience in the past? Anybody? Okay. Let's talk about the next, real-time transaction monitoring. So data science models score each transaction in milliseconds. For example, same card used in Nepal and then Dubai and then London within 1 hour. How is it possible? It is possible that I am in Nepal, my brother is in Dubai, my another brother is in London. And let us say it's my card, I've done some like transaction from here, and then I give the details to my brother at Dubai. He has done some transaction, and then I also set the details to my London brother who has also done the transaction, and all these things happen within 1 hour. So if you do something like this, then there would be a call from the bank to me because I'm the card holder, okay, and they will say, hey, I can see some transaction from Dubai, is it you? Right, and you have to confirm, yes, it is me, it's a normal transaction. Okay, or else most of the time the fraud happens in the midnight. For example, like I sleep at 2 o'clock, 2 a.m, right? Now if any transaction happens at 2 a.m, then it is suspicious. Okay, so all these things can be actually done. We can build a model out of it, and we can use a lot of concepts to prevent all this stuff. Okay, and you will learn all these things eventually. You should learn all these things eventually in your data science class. Okay, now done. Healthcare, disease prediction, drug discovery, and so on. Okay, so again, how this can be used? See, when we talk about data science is all about you study a lot of pattern of your previous data and take the call, and based on your previous transaction, okay, you can you can give an end result to your new discovery. For example, let's talk about this disease prediction. Okay, let us see, because I'm not a medical guy, so we'll take the help of chat gpt. Okay, what are the parameters for blood cancer? How many tests are required with all the values? Okay, no serious. It says it says you'll have to do certain test, and certain test details can give you all this stuff, right? It has also given us some values, like what are the values you need to have. Now think about it. We got a customer, we have his blood sample, we have taken out a lot of we have done a lot of tests, and now we'll have to find out what is the chance that this guy may have a blood cancer in future. If we see this guy can have a blood cancer in future, can we do something before it goes bad? Okay, so in this case what we'll have to do is we'll have to read the history of the people, we'll have to read the history from the past. And based on this past history, we can understand, okay, these are the details, these are the values, and these values should not go very high. For example, check the hemoglobin of the person, and it says the normal range for male is 13 to 17 G by DL, and G for probably gram per this DL is, like we have milliliter, likewise DL is beyond that. DL, I'll say G by DL means, okay, yeah, it's gram per deciliter. Okay, it's gram per deciliter. Okay, so again, 1 deciliter is nothing but 100 milliliters, so it's a unit of liters. So you can basically get all this details, right? So you'll read the past, you'll create a model, and you pass the parameter of a patient, and it can automatically detect what the, for example, suppose you, there will be a time, it has not come yet, there will be a time wherein what you will see is, you give your blood sample. Okay, your the system will find out a lot of stuff. They will do all the tests automatically. They'll figure out the parameters, and they'll tell you, do you have do you have a jaundice right now, or what is the problem in your case right now. All our medical facilities, what they do is, they do this test manually, is not it, which means they take our sample and then they do all this lab test manually. Manually, like there is automation of course, but then manually means somebody would do this, that, and they do all the stuff, a lot of test manually. But there will be a time wherein we will definitely see one single process will take your blood sample, it will do thousands of different tests, and it will come up with the output saying that, okay, the chances of you having this disease is this much, the chances of you having that disease is this much, and accordingly you can control your health. Okay, so that is what it means, disease prediction. It can predict what kind of disease this guy may have in future if he does not control certain stuff. Next, in the healthcare sector, we can also use data science to discover new drugs. How? See, earlier in the past, a lot of experiments were done, right? And today, because of a lot of experiments, we have a lot of drugs available. It's not it, but all these drugs are basically chemical compositions, right? If you have studied medicine, you'll understand that all these drugs are basically chemical compositions, right? Now, using the chemical composition from the past, it will become little more easier to discover new drugs. For example, suppose today, if you suffer from, let's say, dengue, there is a medicine. If you suffer from little bit of malaria, there will be another medicine, right? Tomorrow, let's say in future, we get a new disease wherein the guy looks like suffering little bit from dengue, suffering little bit from malaria, right? Now in that case, what you need to do, you need to combine the drugs of two different cases, right? So again, you need to identify at what percentage, what chemical formula has to be put, right? So all these things can be done by applying your data science. Again, it will actually read the data from the past, and based on the past experience, it will give you the probability, okay, this is what we can do. But again, experiments has to be done, testing has to be done. Okay, next, let's talk about finance. How many of you have your money on stock market? Just say me if you have your money in your stock market. It could be any kind of stock market, does not matter. Just say me if you have your money in stock market. Okay, now most of us, we are very bad in finance, very bad. What we are doing, it's like, my friend said she made this much money in that particular stock, so let me make it. Or I don't have time to manage my finance. Now let me ask you one question. All of us, including me, okay, all of us we work, and we work for money, is not it? Right? We work for money. We work and we get money out because of our work. Now the point is, we always say, I'm so busy that I have no time to care about the money which I made because of my hard work. Right? So again, a lot of people, they blindly put money on stocks, right? Of course, there are few people who does little analysis, how it is going, how it is not going, and under what condition it increases. For example, see, I'll give an example of a gold. Okay, so let's see, I'll say, give me price of gold in last 10 years. Earlier, when I used to take classes, I used to Google it. Now I use ChatGPT. That's the only difference. So let us see this price. Now see here, 26, 28, 29, 31, 35. Now, if you see this pattern, look into this pattern, okay? If you look into this pattern, if you see the hike, the rate at which it has grown, 26, 28, 29, 31, 35, very minimal, right? Do you see that the growth was very minimal? Very few difference, 2, 3,000, 2, 3,000 every year, right? After that, there is a jump. See this, 35 to 48. There is a jump. Okay, again 48, 48, 52. Again, if you see, reasonably okay, reasonably okay. 48 to 52, 4,000 jump. That's okay. After that, if you see, a long jump again, right? And if you go a little back again, there was a pattern like this. Okay, but I'm not saying that you can predict this pattern, but what I'm trying to tell you is, looking into this kind of patterns for any stock, you can sometime analyze, okay, looks like probably now they will increase the price, or I've shown you this year wise, go ahead with the month wise, you'll be more surprised. Go ahead with the day wise, you'll be more surprised to see the pattern. Like, you'll see some of the, company, what they have done is, they have increased the stock price uh, for some months, let's say before Diwali or whatever it is, so that more people can buy it, and the people who are holding maximum share, they can quit and make some money. Okay, so all this can be used to identify, to analyze how the stocks are doing for a particular stuff. And if you have understood this SIP and all, internally they do the same thing. SIP, they tell you that you put money on SIP, we will somehow manage it for you, and we somehow guarantee you that I'll give you 12% or to 15% return altogether, right? So they also use this kind of data science internally. They have their team who actually does all the stock market analysis. Okay, they have built a system algorithm which tells them when to quit and when not to quit. For example, suppose you don't want to go in a greedy approach. You'll say, I want to build a model wherein if I purchased a stock for 100 rupees, and if I get 5% profit or 10% profit, I'll sell it off. Or if that goes to minus 10, if I make a 10% loss, I'll quit. If you build this kind of model, then most likely you'll never be in loss. Okay, but whether the profit will be, you'll maximize the profit or not, that is not guaranteed, right? But it will guarantee one thing, that the loss will be minimal. Okay. Likewise, credit scoring. If we talk about credit scoring, let me tell you that I was working with a company called Credit Vidya, which is now acquired by Cred. Okay, and let me show you some insights. Okay, let me say Credit Vidya acquired by Cred. Okay, so whatever I'll tell you, I'll give you with the facts. Okay, now let us see what exactly it is. So I worked with a company called Credit Vidya. Okay, and what does it do? It's basically based out of Mumbai. The headquarter was Mumbai. Later, they shifted this entire department to Hyderabad. Okay, so what does this Credit Vidya do? It studies your credit history. In short, I'll say we have built an algorithm wherein we give you a score of your credit. For example, we take your alternate data. What it does, let me tell you. The company has built an application which will read your mobile SMS data, and by looking into your mobile SMS data, we'll be able to identify where do you stay, what is your salary, what is your average uh, earning, okay, what's your spending habits, do you have kids going to your school, which are probably which are the places you visit most. For example, if I'm in Hyderabad and if my hometown is in Odisha, then most likely you will see I book a ticket, a train ticket or flight ticket from Hyderabad to my place, which means this guy probably is staying in Hyderabad, going to Odisha means maybe he is working in Hyderabad and going to Odisha, not probably vice versa. So we get a lot of information from you, from your SMS data, and we'll be able to find out whether you will likely pay the loan if somebody gives you loan or not. We come up with a score. Okay, we'll talk about this more in detail as we move on sometime later. So Cred, we all know what exactly the Cred does. So the Cred has acquired a company called Credit Vidya. And why did it acquire? Because of this credit scoring. Because we had already built a pattern wherein we read your SMS data, we read your alternate data, a lot of data from so many places, and we finally come up with a score. And this score can be utilized by the bank to understand whether I should give a loan, should I give a loan to you or not. If I give you a loan, what is the high chance that you will pay me back? By reading your SMS data, I can identify that this guy is actually wasting a lot of money in gambling. And if you're wasting a lot of money in gambling, most likely you may not pay the loan. So there are red flags also. Okay, so that is where the finance comes in picture. Retail, you can build a recommendation system. You can build an amazing recommendation system. For example, Amazon, Netflix, they all use one or other recommendation system which will help us to recommend the product. If for example, when you want to buy a TV, you get some recommendation, right? Like people of your age, people of your profession, they typically buy this product. So all this comes through your data science as well. Okay. Now again, if it is winter, this e-commerce company would promote more products which are sold in winter. Suppose if I want to buy a shirt, then they will promote some shirt which will help me to feel little warm, right? Likewise, right? So all these things can be done in data science. Next, social media, you can do some sentimental analysis, you can do some targeted ads. Targeted ad means you might have noticed the way you browse, okay, social media has a lot of details about you. If you don't believe me, just go to ChatGPT and say, tell me everything that you know about me. I'm not going to do that in front of you. I don't want to be demotivated by reading something about me in front of so many audience. But what I'm saying is, go to ChatGPT, all of you, and just write, tell me everything that you know about me, and you'll see whatever you have asked him, he will tell you everything. Okay, all right. So we'll not over this workflow today, some other day. Okay, we'll move to the Python basics.